Coming to you from deep inside the bowels of a great big empty. Get ready for another episode of The Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show, and I'm your host, Skip Coryell, author of 22 books, Marine Corps veteran, founder of the Second Amendment March, proud father of 7, grandfather to 19 and counting, and as a special bonus, I'm also madly in love with my own wife. My priorities in life are God, family, and country, in that order, and I hereby promise to never compromise in my convictions. I may go broke, but I'll never go woke. And joining me today is my co-host and adoring wife, Sarah Coryell. Sarah, welcome back to the Home Defense Show.
Thank you, Skip. It's great to be here again today.
What is on your mind today? A penny for your thoughts.
Thinking about school, that's what I'm thinking about.
You're going back to school?
No, I have to school the kids today, but I've got one that's sick and one that's doing Greek unwilling like, and then I've got one that's totally on schedule. He gets up every day faithfully and does all of his things, and so in honor of that, I'm going to make him not do math today, and we're going to catch up on grading. We're like 10 lessons behind.
Yeah, homeschooling's rough. Not on me, but it's rough on you.
Nah.
All right, Sarah, so what's on the show for today?
We've got a great show for you today. First, we'll speak with attorney Tom Lambert about anti-gun legislation in the Michigan House and Senate. Then we'll discuss a self-defense scenario in our shootingclasses.com self-defense report with Jason Paletta from the great state of California.
But before we get too far into the show, let's thank our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingclasses.com, and Center Shot Indoor Gun Range. All right, and now it's time for our Home Defense Show Quotes of the Week. Now, you notice that was plural there. Quotes, not quote of the week, but quotes of the week. Because, I made a command decision. Why? Because I'm the boss. I'm the host. I am the host with the most. Why are you laughing at me? I'm totally serious. I'm the host with the most. That makes you the hostess with the mostest.
Oh, no, that's scary.
Well, I noticed that you don't like my quotes. You don't like my quotes. Admit it. Be honest.
I don't love them.
You don't. So you non-hate them.
Usually, yep.
Okay, well.
Not always. Some of them are great. Some of them are just a little macho around the edges.
A little macho? You mean manly, masculine, vigorous, virile, potent?
Mostly I said what I meant.
Mostly, okay. Sarah, you and I think we epitomize the differences between men and women.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes, okay. All right, well, I wanted to have my own quote, but I also want to keep my wife happy.
Thank you.
Right?
I appreciate
happy
that.
Wife, happy life. You want to be happy? Make your wife happy. Is that all you're going to do today? Just giggle? The giggling talk show hostess. Let's go with your quote first. Okay?
I found this quote from a guy named Honoré de Balzac.
So it's masculine. It's manly?
He is actually, yes. He is a French writer, actually. Of all
French.
Things. Yeah, of all things.
Okay, French.
And this quote is just I don't know how true it is, but it's inspiring, and I want it to be true.
The French are famous for retreating and surrendering.
This is a beautiful quote, and he said something brave and bold.
Well, I hope it's good.
He says, "The heart of a mother is a deep abyss, at the bottom of which you will always find forgiveness."
That's the kind of quote I would expect from you.
I love it. It's a great quote. It
You're
inspires,
just so,
it directs.
You're forgiving, you're nurturing, you're kind, you're generous, you're gentle.
Thank you. I don't see that in me, though, so I'm glad you see it. That's good.
Well, I'm glad you are all those things because I'm the beneficiary of all those things. Read that again. I need to chew on that for a second.
The heart of a mother is a deep abyss, at the bottom of which you will always find forgiveness.
And to tie that into the Home Defense Show, I deal with a lot of criminals, right? Mass murderers, rapists, serial killers, that kind of thing. And the mom of these heinous, evil criminals, they still love their son after he does all those evil, heinous, cruel things. Is that what you're talking about there?
That wasn't the first way I was thinking of using it, but yes, that does relate.
All right. Well, hey, I have got a quote here. Mine is a little more manly than yours, a little more masculine. Mine is from Confederate General Robert E. Lee, he's one of my favorite generals of the Civil War, he said, "It is well that war is so terrible. Otherwise, we should grow too fond of it."
That's a great quote.
That is a great quote, but, I was just chewing on that, trying to think about it. Why would you grow fond of war? I think there are many aspects of war that can be grand and glorious. The camaraderie, they bring out the best and the worst in people. They're big, huge events. So, yeah, maybe in a twisted sort of way. But why would he be tempted to grow fond of it? It is well that war is so terrible. He's saying, it's terrible. Thank God it's so terrible. Otherwise, we should grow too fond of it. I think that's the military mind is a conquering mind. And they live for the battle, for the fight, and for the conquest. So thank God it's so terrible. Otherwise, they would do more of it. And now it's time for our Home Defense Show Hero of the Week. Who's our hero this week, Sarah?
Our story is about a granny named Rebby Robertson. He broke in and pointed a gun at her. Then this granny went full Charles Bronson. One of the things...
Do you even know who Charles Bronson is?
I'm sorry, I don't.
Oh, you're a millennial, aren't you?
I believe I had a shampoo that was...
Charles Bronson, tough guy, movie star. He's like Clint Eastwood.
Okay, I know who
but
that is.
But not quite as
Kinda.
Famous.
Okay. One of the things that people need to realize about folks who are north of 70 is that while their bodies may not be as sturdy as they once were, some of them still have the tenacity of much younger people. You see this in a lot of older folks who come from working class backgrounds. They know the value of $1 and will give it to anyone who asks, but strike down anyone who tries to take it from them. It's often because of this ill-conceived notion that every person over a certain age is some doddering old fool. Sure, they may not be able to execute the skills they have as often, but they can still pull them out every once in a while. It's like one of the old-timers baseball games they used to do. There was a retired baseball player who was well into his 70s that hit a home run. I'm not talking about making contact with the ball. I'm not talking about laying down a fine bunt. I'm talking about a home run in a full-sized major league ballpark. Some old people you should just not fool with. Take, for instance, the tale of a Texas grandmother, Rebby Robertson. She's sitting at home one night watching television and minding her own business. Out of nowhere, a burglar appears in her home and is pointing a gun to her head. So the burglar got her up out of the chair and began walking her towards another room. What he didn't realize is that in that room was a small table where she kept a loaded .38 handgun. She wasted no time turning around and pointing the gun right in his face. In what might be the most logical move he'd made that day, he turned around and began running out of the house. She wasn't content to let sleeping dogs lie. She began opening fire, missing him, but leaving several sizable bullet holes in the walls of her house. As of this writing, it seems like the person who tried to rob her while she was at home resting got away. That being said, if I were this person, her house might be crossing off my robbing list.
I think that would be wise, don't you?
Yes.
Because now that she's had some practice...
She'll be better next time.
Yes, right. The only bad part about that story is the bad guy didn't get shot.
Yeah, but maybe he learned his lesson.
Oh, maybe he learned, and he's going to turn over a new leaf now, and he'll probably marry some nice young girl, settle down, and start a family.
Couldn't say about that part.
But you'd like that, wouldn't you?
I thought it was pretty impressive. He was holding a gun on her head, and she turns around and just does the same thing back to him. You might say they were at unequal footing all of a sudden. Yes. But that isn't what goes through his mind. Instead, he's like, oh, she's got a gun on me. Oh, and then he runs away, whereas she's like still brave and cooperative and Yeah,
I think he probably wasn't expecting
her to have any fight.
A 74-year-old woman to have a gun, much less have enough fight and moxie to pull a gun and start shooting at him. Rebby Robertson, good job from Texas. We get a lot of good jobs from Texas, don't we?
They appear to be a brave, tough crowd down there.
Yes, they do. They have attitude. All right, Sarah, what do we have coming up?
Coming up next, we'll talk with attorney Tom Lambert about anti-gun legislation in the Michigan House and Senate. Then we'll discuss a self-defense scenario in our shootingclasses.com self-defense report with Jason Paletta from the great state of California.
In the meantime, God bless and stay safe. We will be right back.
Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If this sounds good to you, you sound good to me. And I'd like to help you do those things. Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If you're looking for more excitement in your life, we have nothing to offer you. But if you are a thoughtful, responsible, nonviolent man or woman, we'd love to teach you what to do if something crazy happens. More importantly, we'd like to teach you what not to do. We currently have over 500,000 members. They are doctors and single moms and firemen and grandmothers and veterans and Democrats and Republicans and members of every faith. But the one thing they all have in common is that they know exactly what to do if something crazy happens. When you're with one of our members, you are safe. Our members know how to de-escalate situations. They know how to calm things down. We are the United States Concealed Carry Association. See what we're all about at usconcealedcarry.com.
Discover the little-known backstory of the U.S. Concealed Carry Association at usconcealedcarry.com.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
At Center Shot Gun Range, we are passionate about training. Don't know where to start? We offer a 1-hour new shooter seminar to introduce you to the world of firearms and help you find training opportunities specific to you. Concealed carry, home defense, firearm safety, AR-15, private one-on-one training, custom training, or maybe you're on a security team looking to protect your church or business. We even offer weekday morning and evening classes. Center Shot Gun Range has you covered. Start your journey at centershotgunrange.com.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
Some say his face is painfully ugly, and I agree. But who cares? This is radio. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was the beautiful and sultry voice of Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show. Folks, we live in a dangerous world, and I want you to be able to protect and defend the ones you love. And that's why I have this show. It's my way of empowering you to accomplish one of your primary jobs in life. You are a protector and a defender. Okay, listeners, before we get too far into the show, don't forget to check out our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingclasses.com, and Center Shot Indoor Gun Range for all your training and equipment needs. And now I'd like to welcome attorney Tom Lambert. Tom, welcome back to the Home Defense Show.
Hey, young Skip. Hope you're well.
I am doing fine. So what's it feel like to be a big shot attorney these days? Oh, you're choking on the microphone, Tom.
It's like you get to go bang your head against bigger brick walls.
Oh, okay. Everyone always, they make fun of lawyers, because there's no shortage of lawyer jokes, right? But until they get in trouble, and then lawyers are the greatest thing since sliced bread. I've noticed that.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right. Well, Tom, I had to give you a little bit of that, just to keep up the rapport, the friendship. All right, Tom, there's all kinds of stuff going on at the Michigan Capitol here, and not all of it I feel warm and fuzzy about. We're in a lame duck session. What is going on at the state capitol right here in Michigan these days, Tom?
Well, we're experiencing the first lame duck session in which a party completely hostile to guns has all three branches. I can't think of the last time where we really have experienced that. And so this is almost unique. And as you might expect in such a situation, they're going to take the opportunity to ram through as much gun control as they can. Specifically, what I'm saying is the Democrats have the House, they have the Senate, and they have the governorship. Now, in the recent elections, the Democrats did lose control of the state House. The Republicans will regain control there, but they won't do it until January. That means Democrats have effectively 2 months to ram through as much as they can without anything to stop them or having to answer to their voters.
As you were telling us about that, Tom, I was reminded of way back in 2000, we had a lame duck session where the Republicans were in control. And that's how we got our original concealed carry bill finally passed after almost 20 years of lobbying to get that done. That went through on a lame duck session as well. But this one, it's kind of like in reverse. And I'm not liking it at all. How far do you think these guys are willing to go to pass anti-gun bills?
It's a good question, and to be honest, it's one I don't completely have an answer to. Like any political party, the members of that political party have a very wide range of views. In the Democrat Party right now, you have a lot of progressive leftists that want certain agenda items to be pushed forward, and some of them are even refusing to show up and vote unless their agenda items get attention. And because the Democrats currently have a very, very slim majority in both the Senate and the state House, if one or two of them don't show up to vote, they can't do anything. And so you end up with a situation where certain wings of their party are able to kind of hold things hostage. And we'll see how long that lasts for. It could be resolved relatively quickly. Everyone agrees that we're just going to burn everything, and then they start doing that. Similar things have happened within the Republican Party as well, where different factions have demanded that their policy priorities get some attention, and they refuse to play along unless that happens.
Now, I noticed last week emails flying back and forth about some sessions being held, a couple of Senate bills that were going through that were going to affect gun owners and gun rights. Can you give us a summary on what's going on right now?
Yeah, there's probably two sets of bills that primarily talk about. The first set are the bills meant to prohibit guns in polling locations. As you saw, a lot of the elections in Michigan were very, very close. I suspect the Democrats are looking at how do we whittle down a few of those votes, if at all possible. And one idea they've been talking about for a long time is prohibiting people from lawfully possessing firearms in polling locations, which you still can do today, and you'll be able to do at least for 90 days past when the governor signs the bills, and we'll see after that. Governor will definitely sign those bills. The other set to talk about is a set of bills that's, instead of on the end of the process, is at the very beginning of the process. These are Senate bills meant to prohibit firearms in the state capitol, the House, and the Senate building. Currently, that's done in at least the Capitol through policy of the Capitol Commission. Some Democrats want to put that into state statute instead of having it just as a policy. And they want to expand it beyond just the Capitol, also apply it to the House and Senate buildings. They have no real examples to point to of law-abiding people who have caused problems.
Now, Tom, you're the legislative director for Michigan Open Carry, aren't you?
Yes.
These polling bills that you were talking about, how do they affect concealed carry people, and how do they affect open carry people?
So when it was first announced that these bills were going to be in committee, there was a lot of discussion about what these bills would do to just the everyday person possessing a firearm or just not even for self-defense, just possessing a firearm. And that's because there's a law out there, 750.234D. It's a list of places you can't possess a firearm. It's not concealed pistols, just possess a firearm. It doesn't exempt the parking lots, but it exempts anybody with a concealed pistol license or permission. The vast majority of people who carry firearms, especially for personal protection, have a CPL, so they never pay attention to this section, and a lot of people just don't know about it. Well, these bills, as initially introduced, crossed out the exemption for CPL holders. The effect on that would have been to make it nearly impossible to have a firearm in public. I don't mean carry for self-defense. I mean travel up north to your hunting cabin with the encased rifle in the back of your car. The reason is that statute, 750.234D, lists a number of places, including anywhere licensed to sell liquor. Not selling it, just merely licensed. A lot of gas stations fall under that category. So if you're traveling up to your hunting cabin, you stop to get some gas on the way up there, you get out, you pump gas, get back in your car, and that's it. If you have an encased rifle, unloaded, all the things you normally do in the back of your vehicle, you violated that law. under the bills as they introduced them. Now they said, well, that was a drafting error. No, it wasn't. Let's be honest. No, it wasn't. The bills were 1 page long. They knew what they were doing. They didn't get away with it. But what they did do is they took that change out. So these bills no longer destroy possessing a firearm throughout the state. They are now focused solely on the Capitol and the legislative buildings.
All right. Tom, I'm going to pause you right there because we're out of time for this segment, but we got a lot more to talk about. This is Skip Coryell on Home Defense Show. We're out of time for this segment, but stay tuned because we've got more great stuff. Coming up next, we'll continue our conversation with attorney Tom Lambert, Legislative Director for Michigan Open Carry. During the break, I want you to get down on your knees and pray for world peace. And while you're down there, go ahead and give me 50 push-ups and use good form. Go all the way down because I will be watching you. Stay tuned because we will be right back.
Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If this sounds good to you, you sound good to me. And I'd like to help you do those things. Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If you're looking for more excitement in your life, we have nothing to offer you. But if you are a thoughtful, responsible, nonviolent man or woman, we'd love to teach you what to do if something crazy happens. More importantly, we'd like to teach you what not to do. We currently have over 500,000 members. They are doctors and single moms and firemen and grandmothers and veterans and Democrats and Republicans and members of every faith. But the one thing they all have in common is that they know exactly what to do if something crazy happens. When you're with one of our members, you are safe. Our members know how to de-escalate situations. They know how to calm things down. We are the United States Concealed Carry Association. See what we're all about at usconcealedcarry.com.
Discover the little-known backstory of the U.S. Concealed Carry Association at usconcealedcarry.com.
The mere sound of his voice makes women swoon and men storm the gates of hell. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
Okay, folks, welcome back to the Home Defense Show. I'm your host, Skip Coryell. And now let's continue our conversation with attorney Tom Lambert, Legislative Director for Michigan Open Carry. All right, Tom, this vile, foul, nasty bill that you were just talking about, tell us again, where is that right now in the lawmaking process?
It has been recommended out of the Senate committee. It's one of the very first things that can happen to a bill. It goes to an origin committee. So now it goes to the full Senate. If the full Senate votes on it, it then goes over to the House, starts the committee, and then full chamber process. If there's differences, it has to go back and forth a couple times, and eventually it will go to the governor if indeed it ever gets that far.
Okay, if indeed it ever gets that far, look into your crystal ball here and tell us, because I know all lawyers have crystal balls. What do you think's going to happen?
I think there's a lot of people that are very, very happy to vote for this. The vast majority of the Democrat caucus will just happily vote for this and ram it through, frankly, regardless of what it says. There are very few that might object. And I think the only real thing that's standing in our way is whether the caucuses can come together to actually work together to vote on something like this, or whether things fall apart, kind of like we talked about in the beginning with different factions unable to reconcile their differences.
Well, they've got roughly 60 days before their term is over. Is that correct?
Less than that, about 5 weeks, 4 weeks, not all of them active.
Yeah, so they're in session when? When can they be doing this?
Typically, they're in session Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. That's not necessarily true all the time. Lately, they'll break for Thanksgiving, have some stuff in there. There are a number of members that have family vacations that they planned, so they'll be away out of Lansing. And again, even if they have one person there, that's enough so they can't vote on anything because they don't have the right numbers. There's some that have to go to Lansing for freshman orientation because they're moving up in their political career. Actual days where they're going to have everybody there, regardless of even if they're on the same page, are going to be few and far between. Problem is, as we've seen Republicans do in the not so distant past, they can go to very, very late at night if they want to. And so they can take advantage of cramming as much as possible as they can into a single day.
Now, this is Skip Coriel on Home Defense Show. And we're speaking with Attorney Tom Lambert, Legislative Director for Michigan Open Carry. All right, so if they pass both these bills then in the lame duck session, how does that affect the average person who carries a gun for personal defense?
The ones pertaining to the Capitol, the House and Senate building probably doesn't affect the average concealed carrier. In fact, it'll affect me a lot more than it'll affect the rest of you, because I'm the person that goes to Lansing to advocate for our rights and carries while I'm there. It's much more rare for the average person to be there and do that. The ones for polling locations probably pose a much greater concern, because it doesn't just apply to the polling location specifically. There's a 100-foot zone around ballot drop boxes that are very problematic. You can have somebody that's just simply walking down the street, doesn't know they're within 100 feet of the entrance to one of these places or a ballot drop box. They could be openly carrying, and an officer could see them and arrest them for committing a misdemeanor. It's the egregious gun-free zones, quote unquote, with invisible lines, but to the nth degree. And it becomes increasingly problematic during election time. One of the other zones applies when they're counting absentee ballots. I don't really know where they count absentee ballots, let alone specifically when they're counting absentee ballots. But as soon as they start the act in a back room somewhere, that entire place becomes off limits, as well as the parking lots and 100 feet from the entrance. So we're going to have to see exactly how that shakes out. And I sincerely hope that Republicans will be willing to do, not just Republicans, frankly, anyone. We used to have a lot of very pro-gun Democrats. I miss those days.
Yeah.
We don't really care about either party in particular. It's just more who's willing to support our rights. But my hope is we'll be able to push some cleanup in the future.
Yeah. Well, that brings to mind the past election that we just had. On a national basis, things really moved red to the right, pretty much across most demographics. Here in Michigan, Michigan went for Trump, but that doesn't necessarily mean or translate into regaining, say, the Senate in 2 years or the governorship or anything like that. What's your opinion? Is Michigan moving more pro-gun, or is it staying the same or getting worse for us?
I have honestly no idea. There's so many different things that could go into that. Somebody could be voting for something. Somebody can be voting against something. Could be people not voting for whatever reasons where they did vote before. Every person is an individual and has their own purposes. And there's just a billion different things to consider there that's far above my head.
Nah, but you're an attorney now. You're supposed to know these things. And you have a crystal ball.
This is some extra art of politics that it's a whole different type of voodoo.
Yeah, that's true. But you referred to, basically blue dog Democrats. You were talking about Democrats, that were pro-gun. 20 years ago, that was not uncommon at all. And I remember in years past, there were a lot of times there would be anti-gun bills that would come up, and it was a handful of Democrats that would, save our, Second Amendment bacon for us. I really miss those days. But now, man, it's hard to find a Democrat that is pro-gun in the state of Michigan. And but I just, my gut feeling is that things are swinging the other way. And I think that there's going to be more pro-gun Democrats pop up here in the state of Michigan. And frankly, I welcome them and their support, but only time will tell. I don't have a crystal ball. That's just my gut.
Yeah, and ultimately it's up to a lot of the people, right? And a lot of the people who would otherwise vote Democrat who might be very pro-gun and might be upset that, hey, you're doing all this other great stuff for us, but these gun votes are bad. You got to talk to your legislators. And Republicans too. At the same time, don't assume your legislator is pro-gun simply because they have an R behind their name. You got to push a lot of these Republicans as well. Michigan Open Carry is a nonpartisan organization. We don't frankly care about the R's or D's. We care about who supports our rights. And like we talked about, Skip, unfortunately, that has become rather one-sided in the parties, and I would love efforts to put that back to the way it used to be.
Yeah, that's for sure. You and me both. So, Tom, where can people go to find out more about Michigan Open Carry?
Michigan Open Carry is, you can find our website, miopencarry.org, or we do have a Facebook and Twitter presence.
All right. Well, Tom, I want to thank you very much for being on the Home Defense Show today, and I especially want to thank you for all the things that you do. I know you volunteer a lot of your time to the Second Amendment cause.
Yeah, perhaps that's worth saying. I always forget to say it. Michigan Open Carry is an entirely volunteer-based organization. None of us are paid to do what we do. We do it because we love it.
All right, fantastic. Tom, thank you very much for being on the show today.
Thank you, Skip.
All right, folks. This is Skip Coryell on Home Defense Show. Coming up next, we'll be having our shootingclasses.com self-defense report, and we'll be speaking with firearms instructor Jason Paletta from the great state of California. Now it's time to strengthen your core. So get down on your back and pump out 50 sit-ups, because we all know that a healthy, fit person fights better and is harder to kill. God bless and stay safe. We will be right back.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
At Center Shot Gun Range, we are passionate about training. Don't know where to start? We offer a 1-hour new shooter seminar to introduce you to the world of firearms and help you find training opportunities specific to you. Concealed carry, home defense, firearm safety, AR-15, private one-on-one training, custom training, or maybe you're on a security team looking to protect your church or business. We even offer weekday morning and evening classes. Center Shot Gun Range has you covered. Start your journey at centershotgunrange.com.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
They say he eats crayons and his knuckles drag on the ground, but that's only half true. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was the beautiful and sultry voice of Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show, and I'm your host, Skip Coryell. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingclasses.com, and Center Shot Indoor Gun Range for all your training and equipment needs. And now it's time for our weekly self-defense report, sponsored by shootingclasses.com. And today we're speaking with firearms instructor Jason Paletta from the great state of California. Jason, welcome back to the Home Defense Show.
Hey, good morning, Skip. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So how are things in the great state of California today?
It's a little bit overcast, but looking at the weather in Michigan, and I'm sure it's not as bad as you have it there.
That's right. I feel so sorry for you California people and the terrible weather that you have. Jason, you know the drill. I'm going to read crime article, and then you're going to break it down for us and give us your professional opinions. In a tense encounter in Florida, a father was compelled to use his firearm when a motorist with a lengthy criminal record allegedly attempted to run over him and his son. The Volusia County Sheriff's Office reported that 47-year-old Marcus Blicker pursued two vehicles driven by a neighbor's son and his friend, swerving aggressively in traffic. The situation escalated when the son contacted his father for help, indicating that they were being followed. Upon reaching the father's residence on Jackson Lane in Port Orange, Blicker arrived too, reportedly yelling and threatening the young men. In response to the aggressive behavior, the father fired warning shots in an attempt to deter Blicker. However, the situation intensified when Blicker allegedly tried to ram them with his truck, prompting the father to shoot. Deputies found Blicker deceased in the driver's seat of his pickup. The sheriff's office confirmed that video and audio recordings corroborate the accounts provided by the shooter and witnesses. As of now, no criminal charges have been filed against the father. Court records reveal Blicker's extensive criminal history. In 2020, he was arrested for aggravated stalking, serving 12 months probation. Additionally, in 2012, he received a 12-month probation sentence for battery after an incident at the Flagler Tavern in New Smyrna Beach where he punched a woman. All right, this is not the man I want to be babysitting my kids or dating my daughter. What do you think of this incident, Jason?
There's a lot of flags there, but there's also a lot of unknowns. Being in law enforcement for so long, I kind of look at where did this start at? Why did it start? And how did it escalate? The son, we don't know if it was a road rage gone bad, maybe the son did something, but you get to the end of it, it's actually all irrelevant. But for the fact that the kid called his dad and concerned that this guy was following them, road raging with them, and then the son ends up at his father's residence. If my son were to call me in that situation, I'd be telling my son, hey, drive to the nearest police department. Don't come home, drive to the police department. That didn't happen. So the son still proceeds to the father's residence. Once he gets to the residence, then there's an exchange of words, and then the father fires some warning shots. Warning shots to me they're irrelevant. You never want to fire warning shots, or I shouldn't say never, but that is like almost cardinal rule number one is like, I'm not going to fire warning shots. If I'm going to shoot my gun, I'm going to shoot it because I absolutely have to. And I'm going to aim at the threat to eliminate the threat. So looking at this situation, the warning shots, and then the suspect in this case started ramming the vehicle. Father fires rounds at the suspect and ends up killing him. What I tell everybody in any kind of situation when you're using your firearm, you have to be able to articulate, I was in fear of great bodily injury or death of myself or somebody else. And I think that with the circumstances here and what the suspect or Blinken did, I think the father is 100% within his legal right to protect himself and his son from assault with a deadly weapon, which would be Blinken's vehicle.
Yeah, Jason, I'm spot on with everything that you said. First off, I want to know more details about what occurred to make this all happen. Did the guy just go nuts and the son was just pure as the wind-driven snow? Or did the son instigate it somehow? Did he cut him off? Did he flip him off? Did he do something young and dumb? But you're also right when you say at the end, it doesn't really matter because the guy, obviously, when you look at his criminal record, he's got some anger issues and some violence issues. So I kind of give the kid the benefit of the doubt on that one. I have an 18-year-old son, and if my son would have called me, I would tell him exactly what you recommended and call 911, go to the police and let the police handle it. Because just my gut instinct is a guy like that, he's more likely to back down from 1, 2, or 3 police officers than from another private citizen. There's less ego involved, I think. Maybe not. It all depends on the state of mind that the guy was in, but perhaps it could have been diffused or de-escalated better if the police were on the scene.
I agree. And, the fact of the son were to go to the police department, and I've seen this before, working patrol is, our dispatch would tell the driver that calls it in, hey, I'm being followed by an aggressive driver. Hey, just come to the police department. And they do. And I would say 9 out of 10 times the suspect or the person that is being aggressive towards them won't come into the police department. They'll either drive by or they'll peel off on another road. So right there, eliminates any possible, altercations between the son and the suspect. But like I said, we don't know what happened in the beginning. And like you said, you have an 18-year-old son. I got a 13-year-old son, soon to be 13, and an 18-year-old daughter. And we all know how kids are, like you said, they're not the best drivers. Did they make the guy upset because of one of their driving actions, or were they just inconsiderate and they flipped him off or whatever? I don't know, but it doesn't matter to me. It's the end circumstances that really opens up the whole gambit of questions of, why is this guy this aggravated that he would use his vehicle to assault son and his father?
Yeah, and when you talk about warning shots, you mentioned that. When I talk to my students about warning shots, I say in general, you're never going to fire a warning shot. You're either legal avail the use of deadly force or you're not. And firing a warning shot, that's use of deadly force. That round, it's going to fall someplace, and you don't really know where it's going to land unless you got a cleared cement wall backstop or something. You really don't know. And in this case, it seemed to escalate. For me personally, if someone pulls out a gun because I'm being out of line, I'm angry, or I'm doing something that I know I shouldn't be doing, just seeing that gun is like, oh, okay, I'm out of line here. I need to back down. This guy didn't do that. It had the opposite effect. And that tells me maybe he's on drugs, alcohol, maybe he's mentally ill, maybe he's just, a violent guy. What do you think?
Yeah, you know what? And you said it earlier. It's you don't know what kind of central nervous stimulants he might have on board, whether it be, meth, cocaine, whatever. But also you hit on a big one is just the mental illness portion of it. Not to say he's totally mental ill with, a dilapidating illness, but I'm saying the guy has anger issues. And for somebody to pull a gun out, like you or me, anybody else, be like, okay, yeah, dude, let me get myself back in check. I was totally out of line. I don't want to escalate it to this. But this guy took it the other direction, and he got killed over it. So there's definitely issues there. And like I said, and we'll never know, whether it was drug induced or just, mentally illness that causes them with this anger issue. In the end, it was his demise.
All right. Well, Jason, good analysis. Before you go, please tell people how they can find out more about your training.
Great. I appreciate it. So yeah, my name's Jason Paletta, and you can follow me on Instagram at pillar_training_institute_. And also my website is pillartraining.net, where I'll have all my classes listed and other avenues to get in touch with me.
All right, pillartraining.net. All right, Jason, hey, I want to thank you for being on the Home Defense Show today. It's been a pleasure, and you had a great analysis. So thanks a lot, Jason.
Thanks, Skip. Appreciate it.
All right, folks, this is Skip Coryell on the Home Defense Show, and that about wraps it up for this week's show. I've had a good time, and I hope you have too. Please don't forget to thank our sponsors, Center Shot Indoor Gun Range at centershotgunrange.com, shootingclasses.com to help you find the right trainer for your needs, and the United States Concealed Carry Association. For all your self-defense needs, go to uscca.com. All right, I've written 20-plus books, and they're all available on Amazon.com in paperback, ebook, and audiobook. This week, check out my book, We Hold These Truths. The first person to email me at skip@homedefenseshow.com will get a free signed copy of the book. And if you want training from me in person, then check out Midwest Tactical Training at shootingclasses.com. Please join us again next week for all your home defense needs. In the meantime, God bless and stay safe.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Home Defense Show. Now, get out there and protect the ones you love. We'll see you next week with more of the best.
Bye-bye, boys! Have fun storming the castle!